Well, let's get started. We have people still coming in. I gave them a 2-minute grace. They can just come in as they will. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited about this topic. We're really excited about what brands are doing in Shop and what we're building. So let's dive in. So it's an introduction to TikTok Shop. I will just get started with some introductions and then some, just housekeeping items real quick. So joining me today on the webinar is Kaylee Pulido, who's our senior campaign planner at Current. She has been a marketer specializing in social media for more than 5 years and has been crafting influencer campaigns for some amazing brands that you may have heard of, like JCPenney, Shine, Urban Decay. She is doing some amazing content for us on brand strategy and helps our sales team come up with strategies for larger campaigns for some of our clients. Super happy to have Kaylee here, who also rounds us out in the younger end of like maybe the more of the TikTok zone generation. And then Dustin is on the call on the webinar too. So Dustin was the former head of creator monetization at TikTok. So he was at the place that this whole thing's about, and in all the conversations of what are we building and when is this going, all that stuff. So he's been in the weeds, we could say. Dustin's been in creator marketing for a good amount of time. He's worked with PepsiCo, MasterCard, McDonald's, all helping them set up and run campaigns in TikTok. And before that, he was the VP of influencer strategy at Zephyr. He has deep experience with creator marketing. I'm very excited to have him on. And he's currently serving the VP of product and strategy at Pattern. And then there's me, just rounding it out at the end. I'm the head of marketing at Current, and I've been in marketing for many years, some would say, and have led B2B and B2C companies in leadership roles in the companies and advisor roles, scaling them to millions in revenue. And I've been just deep entrenched in TikTok for the last while here, as we've been helping clients get on and rounding out this strategy here. So let me give you a little intro into Pattern and Current. I'm not going to read all this. I hope you don't need to either, but Pattern is Current's parent company. So Pattern is an e-commerce accelerator. To put it very simply, Pattern fully partners with your brand, meaning they will go in and buy your inventory and then sell that inventory on every marketplace you could think of, including TikTok Shop, Amazon, Walmart, JD.com, wherever you can think of. And then they help grow your brand there and they take a share of the revenue. Current was acquired by Pattern and is a creator management platform and agency that helps connect creators to your brand and turn them into ambassadors to give you that army of amazing creators that actually drive revenue for your brand. So just quick, brief intro about us. And let me go into the agenda real quick. So we'll talk about the TikTok Shop opportunity. Dustin's going to take that because he's, like I said, been in the weeds there. Kaylee and I will give you an overview of TikTok Shop. It might seem basic to some people, but we've actually been surprised at some of the basic questions we've had. And so I just want to level set with everybody here. And then we'll dive into like strategies for success on TikTok Shop, some things to watch out for, and a Q&A. Before I jump to the next point though, I'm trying to manage the webinar and the chat and all the things. So if you have questions just drop them in the webinar chat. That's going to be the easiest place for me to monitor questions and all those things. And yes, I will share the recording of the event for sure. Thanks, Kaylee. Oh, Kaylee jumped on a question for me. So that's perfect. So yeah, drop your questions in the webinar chat. Kaylee, Dustin, and I are more of a conversational type presenter versus like a strict slide deck. But you got to have some structure here. So you have the slide deck, but if there's a moment that somebody's got a question or whatever, we can dive right in and make this more conversational. And it's kind of whoever has the mic at the moment can take that question as they need. So let's dive in. Dustin, I'll hand it over to you to talk to us about the TikTok Shop opportunity and why brands shouldn't ignore it.
Yeah, super excited to get right into it. Quick, you probably just noticed someone saying that the chat should be enabled if that's something we can take care of while we're going. Otherwise, the Q&A definitely is working because we're seeing it. So we'll check in both places. Either way, no, you're not asking the Q&A if you can't get into the chat. But let's get right into talking about TikTok Shop and why we want to talk about it today. First of all, as Trenton said, just a hot topic. You're reading a lot about it. TikTok certainly is, marketing TikTok Shop now that they've launched last year. They're, trying to get the word out, spread awareness. But just to take half a step back, at Pattern, Trenton gave a little bit of the what we do. We're a global e-commerce accelerator. So, a big part of how we're serving clients, we're looking at what's going on in e-commerce, what's going on all these marketplaces where we sell. And we're thinking about how can we help our clients more? What's coming next? What's around the corner? And we really feel that social commerce is coming, that this is going to be a big trend overall in e-commerce, and it's going to be coming very soon. And we already see social commerce, popping pretty significantly in other markets outside of the US, most notably China. In China, social commerce is already over 10% of retail, a much more significant share than it is in the US. And we think that's all going to be migrating over. And we think that the launch of TikTok Shop is actually going to be a big part of what drives that. I mean, social commerce, we've heard about it forever, right? You've heard forever, oh, on Instagram, I'm going to see a t-shirt, I'm going to be able to buy it, right? Like that's 10 years old. And it's easy to kind of eye roll. It's like, well, why now? Well, TikTok Shop is now, right? There's actually a real infrastructure. There's a real platform with proven success at driving the right user behavior and at providing the right functionality to allow brands to succeed in this selling model. And some specific data points we can see, and there's a ton of them, but the first thing, TikTok is already, without long before opening up shop, and you heard I'm at TikTok, so you can take this stuff that I say about the platform with a grain of salt if you want, but TikTok has been driving commerce, even if it isn't directly on TikTok, for years. And I'm sure a ton of you guys have heard the hashtag TikTok made me buy it. Maybe you've engaged in TikTok made me buy it. You've seen stuff in your feed and you're like, oh, I love that, I'm going to buy it. But that hashtag has been viewed over 70 billion times on the platform, and being there at TikTok, from almost the beginning when it exploded, that wasn't actually a programmed hashtag from TikTok. It was serendipitous. Again, you can take it with a grain of salt, but internally, it wasn't like, oh, great, we're going to unleash TikTok made me buy it on the world. We were watching it like, this is amazing. People are buying stuff and they're talking about it on TikTok. We should probably promote this. But it was totally an organic thing of people just wanted to express things that they wanted to buy. So whether that's face cream, whether that's leggings, if you guys remember, there was a feta pasta recipe a few years ago and that went viral. And the New York Times reported that there was a feta shortage in the US a couple of weeks after that came out. So, like very obvious, commercial impact of the content that's on TikTok's platform. And that's been established for years. And then in terms of why do they think they can bring that into a shopping experience on the platform, they've been successful with it globally. TikTok is doing over 200 billion in revenue on their platform globally. So, yes, user behaviors are different places, but basically, like, they've built out the user journey, which we're going to talk a little bit about later, the technology, they're establishing all the partnerships in the US, they're scaling up a massive team. This is a huge strategic bet by the company, and TikTok is a company with significant resources to really push, this change in shopping behavior forward. And so we, Pattern announced in November services around TikTok Shop. We've been one of the first TikTok Shop partners. We believe in it very strongly ourselves, both social commerce overall, and that TikTok is going to be a huge part of pushing that in. And we really think that, brands have an opportunity to get in early and really spur their growth by catching the wave as it starts to crest. And then, at Pattern, another thing we talk about all the time, not just with social commerce or TikTok Shop, but what is e-commerce? It's just math, right? It's traffic times conversion times price times availability. And when you think about what TikTok brings to the table, it's really concentrated in that traffic times conversion piece of the e-commerce equation, in that TikTok has massive scale. It's one of the three companies globally with over a bit, three social platform companies with over 1 billion MAUs. There's about 150 million in the US. So they have tons of people coming to TikTok. The engagement is more significant than any other platform. Their engagement rate is higher than any other platform. Users average more than an hour and a half per day on the app, which still, even working there, and I've said that stat a million times, I still kind of don't believe it, because it's just really mind-boggling that someone is spending that much time in a single app. But TikTok is commanding that much user attention. So you've got the traffic piece. And then TikTok users, again, go back to TikTok made me buy it. They're saying, I'm willing to, check out products here. I'm willing to let this guide my purchase behavior. 55% of TikTok users, even before the launch of Shop, said that they purchase products after they see it in the app. So there's already tons of shopping intent. And that is the significant opportunity for brands. You already have the people, and they're already ready to buy. And TikTok's is just making it easier to do that. That's what the launch of TikTok Shop is. So that's the massive opportunity that we see for brands. Is it's just, it's like this latent demand just sitting there in this app that is massively used by 150 million people in the US. And now you can harvest it by setting up a shop and selling your products directly. So I'm going to throw it back to Trenton and Kaylee, and they'll talk about what does that experience specifically look like, and then we'll get into some strategies we see on the platform.
Yeah, Dustin, there's one question that popped up before I jump to mine. Someone's wondering if that 200 billion is from TikTok Shop specifically, or if it's attributed from customer journeys to an owned or operated e-com site.
No, this is it's on ByteDance platforms, I guess I should say. So, that would be inclusive of China, and that's branded separately. But it's not driving elsewhere. So this is like in the ByteDance ecosystem, they're doing over 200 billion. And
which is the model they've followed for TikTok Shop US.
Right. Yeah. And so all the user journey, the functionality, all of that is taken from their playbooks that are successful in other markets. That's kind of the point, is that it's, yes, of course you always have to adapt, to, the behaviors of different markets, but, we're still people. We kind of, we like the things we like, we shop how we shop. And, the fact that they understand how to push people down that conversion path, it to us makes them a surer bet than someone just, taking VC funding and saying, I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah. Awesome. So we'll dive into that a little bit here. Kaylee and I will, giving just a brief intro into what is TikTok Shop exactly. So specifically, like, people just define it's social commerce. So it's a set of features that enable sellers and shoppers to transact inside TikTok Shop, just enabling social commerce as we know it. And we won't go deep dive into every feature like discounts and coupons and all of that, but here's some that will highlight that will kind of show the buyer journey and show how people are hitting the shopping opportunities. So I'm going to hand it over to Kaylee to just intro us into the shop tab and search first.
Yeah, thanks, Trenton. Yeah, so we will kind of dive into actually what that journey looks like from a consumer view, affiliate view, and then also from our seller center as well. So this is kind of probably a familiar feed look to you if you've been on the TikTok app before. This used to have just the following and for you, and you could switch between, but now you'll actually see the shop at the very top in this far left-hand screenshot. And then once you click on shop, it will bring you over to kind of this like marketplace view where you can look through different products, deals, flash sales, and also just like explore. There's also a search feature as well. So if you go on and are looking for a specific product or a specific brand, this will be a place where you can go in and look for that. So I know this is kind of like a beginner, like everyone should know this, but we've actually had a lot of brands, like Trenton has said, of like they need help visualizing the buying process on TikTok Shop. So this is kind of a high level overview into like what the shop tab actually looks like in the search feature within there. And then next, this is actually once you go to someone's storefront, per se, using Babe Original here as an example, it'll bring you to a homepage where it'll show top products, latest sales, and then on the actual product page, it kind of will break it out into recommended best sellers and really popular products there. And then you'll also be able to see reviews of products as well. So you can see where customers interacting with these products on TikTok Shop, if they've bought here, they'll be able to post their review. One really important and cool thing also noted on their storefront is actually products sold. So you'll be able to see this here. And Trenton and I were talking about this just because I've actually bought products before on TikTok Shop and gone through this journey myself. Seeing this number here kind of gives you a little bit of credibility and trustworthiness from a consumer standpoint of the shop. You're seeing tons of other people buying here, and kind of you're able to see that in this view of the storefront. So and then this is a really unique point that we wanted to kind of drive home here is actually that only about 10 to 20% of sales are coming from the shop tab and search, and actually 80 to 90% are driven by affiliates and content. Kind of just goes to show how TikTok Shop is a unique marketplace where it's really upper funnel and focused on the discovery point of view from a customer's journey, versus like going on to Amazon or going on to D2C. Usually you are there to go ahead and shop, versus when we're seeing people interact with TikTok Shop, a lot of the ways that they're getting there is from discovering content through their feed and clicking on actual products tagged in videos. So I'll pass it over to Trenton to kind of walk us through the back end of this storefront.
Yeah, so this stat that Kaylee said is critical to understand if you're coming into TikTok Shop thinking, and I've seen this with a few brands already, all we got to do is set up a shop and people are going to hit the shop tab and they're going to find us, or they're going to do search and come in and buy. And I've actually seen brands that are doing millions on D2C or on Amazon, and they'll show me their TikTok Shop and they're like, how come we only have 20 units sold? And I point them straight to this. I'm like, this is why, because that's not how TikTok Shop is working. And I think this will balance itself out over time, but right now it's driven through content and affiliates. And so let me show you like how that works. So there's two really big features that are kind of the engine that drives everything in TikTok Shop. So the first one is shoppable videos that people will find in their feed, either in their For You feed or in their following feed. And you can see right here, I've pointed it with this big giant green arrow, the new shop product page link that people can place in their shoppable videos. If you've allowed them to be one of your affiliates, if you allowed them to collaborate with your brand. And so this is where 80 to 90%, like we showed, of the sales are being driven right now are in the shoppable content. So just to give you a quick look at the buyer's journey, you'd be scrolling through their For You feed, and it was kind of interesting to find the clips for this because I was using my own TikTok, so it probably says a little bit about my usage here. But this is just a person, actually an affiliate channel called Savage Deals, that was posting about this air purifier, and then they've got the link to the shop here. And as soon as I click that link, it pops overlay onto the video that I was scrolling, and I can check out right there in the app with my credit card or whatever I want, put all my shipping info in. So you can immediately see like the buyer friction that a lot of us experienced in TikTok before when we were running paid ads or we were running influencer campaigns, and we were trying to point them off platform to our D2C side or wherever we were selling. is gone. So that buyer friction being removed has increased, obviously, the returns we were seeing. The other one that's really interesting to me, and I don't think it's like on fire in the US yet. It's just not really how people are shopping. But I will tell you, our team in China is driving millions through live streams. And so these are just some of the features that I'll point out to you. Like you can see on the top left, I've highlighted that little tiny coupon tag. So if I click on the coupon tag, it pops here. And these are actually TikTok Shop sponsored incentives. So that's one thing to take note of right now is TikTok is dumping money into making this thing work from their war chest. So I can actually get an amazing deal as a buyer that's funded by TikTok Shop and not by the brands themselves. I love somebody just posted, I bought that air purifier on TikTok Shop. So you can see what I mean. It is effective. And then the other green arrow is just some of the links that the live streams have. So this one, they've showcased this specific product, and then it pops up over the live stream and it shows the discount that the brand themselves is offering, and then some more information about the product. I just want to really quickly show you a couple of the other live streams, mostly to make the point that some brands are very, very, very precious. And I'm a marketer and I love good branding and I love good marketing. So I feel this, but they're very, very, very precious about like, what are we doing with a live stream and what are we doing with content? But authenticity and kind of unprecious content is working really well and driving thousands, if not millions, in sales. So these are some that I pulled. So this one is literally just an unpacking, which, may or may not be as good as it used to be, but an unpacking of this dishware set from just this family that's posting. This one is from the actual brand. And this live stream is just a video showing the product. And then it has a voiceover just saying the benefits of, I'm not even going to try to pronounce these things, but the benefits of these supplements. This one's also from an affiliate, and you can tell she's just got like a quick beauty setup with a lot of products, and she's using the flat iron. I think that's what that is, curler. Sorry if I slaughtered that, in her video, and is just kind of talking about her day and about why she loves the curler and why it sped up her getting ready routine in the morning, and she's able to get her kids to school sooner. And then this one I thought was really cool. The guy, he's an electrician, and he is just talking about like the craziest things he's seen in the field of electricians and like how he's seen people do dumb stuff that got them electrocuted or very smart things. And he's kind of sharing all of that. And he's also just interweaving in that conversation his own goods as well as affiliate goods that he's selling specifically to electricians. So sometimes people, just step back and think like, I got to be too precious or the branding's got to be perfect. And we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but I don't think that's what you should do. I think you should start versus being perfect for various reasons. And you can see it's working for brands. And the other thing is you can see just from this quick sampling how niched down TikTok Shop and live streams can be. So you can find an audience here, even if you have what you feel like is a very niched product.
Yeah,
and then really
quickly underscore that point. I mean,
yeah.
From TikTok's perspective, they would tell you exactly the same thing. The platform rewards experimentation, and they want you to experiment and not be too precious. And that's true of, creators, brands, anything. So, if you put out 5 videos and 4 of them get basically no views, and the fifth might get 100,000 views, like that's actually super normal behavior on the platform, because it's less, not to get too deep in the rabbit hole, but the feed is less about pushing stuff out to a specific audience or follower group. Each piece of content is more independently evaluated by the algorithm. So they actually really want you to put out a volume of stuff that the algorithm could test, because then they can see what really resonates for your brand. And kind of failing at that test, there's like no negative consequences, certainly for the platform and even for your brand. Like there's sort of natural safety, because the stuff that they find doesn't really resonate, no one will really see anyway. I mean, you'll feel bad that you did something and no one watched it, but if you can kind of like get over that, that, just like, that feeling of like, oh, why did I waste my afternoon with this? Really just, like experimenting a lot is a great practice to have.
Totally. I'll just really quickly touch on these because we're running a little hot on time and there's more interesting stuff we want to talk about and some good questions coming up. So this is Seller Center. Once you get TikTok Shop live, this is the back end where you'd run everything. So you can see on the left all of the different tabs that help you run your shop, where you can set up the discount codes, where you can see somebody ask like, where do I find the TikTok Shop offers and incentives? You can see them from just your personal like buyer experience, but also inside of the app, there's specific deals you can take advantage of. Like you can see right here, there's like holiday deals and things they're doing all the time to incentivize you to post more. So this is just to level set with people. Like there is a side to this that somebody on your team will need to manage. Like they will need to be in here and they'll need to check reviews and they need to check inventory and shipping and all of those things. It is another marketplace to be mindful of. And then here, just really quickly, I want to show you the affiliate center, which is where the magic happens really. And you can find the affiliates that'll drive content. And we'll talk a little bit deeper about like the strategy there. But I just wanted to show you some of those. So you, if you haven't seen it before, you can kind of understand like, what would it look like to have a shop and be managing it? And then someone asked like, what's the split between content driven sales versus affiliate driven? Which goes perfectly into what Dustin's going to talk about next, like the way you need to think about the paradigm of TikTok Shop versus other marketplaces. So I'll hand it back to you, Dustin.
Yeah, it's a perfect segue. TikTok Shop is content driven. That can't overstate that enough in terms of if you're selling a lot on other marketplaces, really any Western marketplaces probably, but the main ones in the US, Amazon, Target, Walmart, eBay, what have you. That's, again, probably much more intent-based, much more search-based. When you go to those marketplaces, you have something in mind, usually, at least as a category level, or maybe an occasion like a birthday. And then you probably have a category attached to it, like, want to get clothes for my wife or whatever. TikTok is much more about discovery in the feed. The For You feed is really kind of the magical thing that makes TikTok valuable. And for those of you who maybe aren't on TikTok a ton, the feed is just the main short form video feed that is the first thing you see when you open the app. And so they have built Shop into that experience rather than trying to create it as its own thing, which is smart. They're playing to their strengths, but then you also need to play to what TikTok does well. If you're going to win on TikTok Shop, you need to win in the feed with content in the feed. And, creators are really the greatest path to figuring out successful content because they're, that's all they think about all day long. At least the more successful TikTok creators is what are the trends, what's working, what do audiences like, what's a clever thing that I can do to showcase this brand. That's not to say as a brand you shouldn't make your own content. Some of you maybe already are, and that's fantastic. But what you see on TikTok is that brands and creators aren't distinguished in any particular way on the feed. So the brands that are successful are the ones that act like creators and they make content, they do the same trends as creators. And, they'll often build little characters that kind of like participate in the trends and the memes. But if you're not already putting a lot of content, you haven't built out your TikTok account, as a brand, which is most brands, by the way, so you shouldn't feel bad about it. You're not comfortable creating for TikTok. Creators are like your cheat code. Okay. You can, they're very eager to partner with brands. They really love sharing their knowledge. My job at TikTok was working with creators and, they love sharing what they learn. It's actually like, I learned a ton from them as a brand. You can learn a ton from them and you can use them in a variety of ways. When we say creator content, you asked about the mix of affiliate versus brand. I mean, certainly you can connect with creators as affiliates. TikTok has a whole affiliate center to do that. But you can also contract with creators to make content for your handle. And you can bring creators onto your live stream, or you can have them live stream from their account. There's, TikTok doesn't, again, like TikTok is just trying to promote the best, most engaging content into the feed. They're not trying to bias towards a creator, towards a brand, towards any particular thing. So you really can, try a diversity of strategies. The only thing I would say is you have to figure out what content is working for you. And the only way to do that is by putting out a lot of content. And, just at a practical level, you can scale the content that you're putting out much more quickly and, efficiently, working with creators rather than only producing it yourself as a brand. Ultimately would recommend doing both, but just as an initial way to get started, would highly recommend some type of creator strategy to get content out there, and also to to experiment with some lives as well, which, as we said, it's kind of a new, shopping off a live feed is a new experience for a lot of American consumers, but TikTok has been pretty open. They would like for, to usher that in. They would like for live streaming to take hold here. So, I mean, if you're on TikTok a lot, you can see a lot more live streams are getting promoted into the feed. And so, that kind of transitions into another thing we'll talk about later, but, leaning into the things that TikTok wants to promote is a big opportunity, and live stream is one of those things. And you can, and again, if you're nervous to do that yourself, or you're like, I don't have anyone with the time for this, you can find a ton of creators would be very psyched to go live on your behalf and sell your products and give you some feedback.
Awesome. So I'll dive a little bit into just tips on working with creators, and then I've got affiliates, because TikTok, as you saw, it's an affiliate center. They've moved to an affiliate model, so you can kind of step back away a little bit from the like one-off pay you once for one post based on how many followers you have, and more into the affiliate mindset on TikTok Shop specifically. And there's somebody asked, like, where do we find creators? That's something we can help with. Inside TikTok Shop, the affiliate center, someone on your team could also dive in there and try to pull out people that would be good to work with. And there's two different ways to do that. There's what's called inside TikTok Affiliate Center, the open versus targeted collabs. So open just means it's like a marketplace. So you would put on there, I want people to sell my product, my air filter, and I'll give anyone that sells it 10% of the revenue that they drive through their content. And the other way to do it is called targeted collabs, where you actually hone in on a set of creators you really, really, really want to work with, and you can give them custom commission amounts. You can give them kind of customized incentives, and you can actually reach out directly to them. Or, like I said, we could help you with that and reach out to them as well. And just some thoughts, like, I think you should have a mix of open versus targeted collabs, but any marketplace setup we've really seen in the past, because these have been around for a long time, you kind of will just end up either getting some creators that come in that maybe aren't the ones you would really, really, really be excited to work with. And then you're also competing in a sea of all the other brands that are similar to you that have also just said, we'll give you 10% of commission or whatever it is. So the targeted collabs, especially for brands that haven't really done much, they don't have a presence, they don't have a proven, like, this brand will sell. I think the targeted collabs gives you an opportunity to like incentivize a little more in the beginning to kind of juice those sales, to start showing affiliates like, we are a brand that you will be able to make money on, because that's really what they care about. And until you have that established, it's going to be really hard to get the volume you want to get with open collabs. And so, like I said, you should have a mix. And I think open can be funneled through the targeted, but the targeted takes work and it takes a strategy, and you've got to be mindful of who you're reaching out to and all of those things. And then Kaylee, I'll hand over number 2 to you, because I think you've got a little deeper experience, like, in your career of actually contracting these big influencers. So
Yeah, so point 2 is few influencers with big followings versus a community of many. And basically, like, really what that is saying is like focusing on an army of creators, also to Dustin's point of really testing and learning with more of a variety of content, a bigger variety of different creators, and really getting into figuring out what is working versus maybe going with these really huge creators of that are used to like flat rate. They post for product versus diving into this affiliate mindset that TikTok is focusing on and finding a community of people that are really wanting to authentically promote your product, even if they are more like smaller micro creators. In my experience, I've actually seen bigger conversion for sales as well with smaller creators. Their audiences are really um, they're really ingrained into their daily content that they're posting. So the likelihood of them actually acting on a sale I've seen is greater versus sometimes a bigger creator as well, who is more costly too.
Yeah. Thanks, Kaylee. And I think just kind of doubling down on the incentives are better aligned in this model than and it's more transparent because like the past model is really you're judging influence based on how many followers someone has, and that could be defined as influence, but really what you want is like how many sales is this person going to get us. And that's one thing I love about TikTok Shop is you can actually go into the affiliate center and see how many sales a affiliate has
Mm-hmm.
driven, and they may have way less followers than somebody else, but you're actually paying them for their ability to sell your product versus just their following count, which is great. And then let's see, we were gonna dive into this. We are like coming over time. I think it's okay though. Kaylee, we can still jump in
Yeah,
here.
can quickly talk through this. So, this is kind of a real life example back to what Dustin was saying of doing test and learn with different creators, different types of content. So, this is actually affiliate content that was produced for Babe Original, and we decided to run paid media behind it. So, you'll be able to see like the ROAS measured here. All of these videos actually had in the feed a shoppable link where the consumer was able to click on the link and go and buy product. We just have downloaded it, so you're not able to see that here. But really interesting is historically ROAS for when these types of videos were pushing to D2C was actually around the 1.5 range. And because that friction was removed of the buyer journey from when they're posting these videos to maybe it was like linked in their bio or linked in a comment, their call to action to go and purchase product was linked there. Now that it's shifted to TikTok Shop and the consumer is actually just to click straight on the video, it's been really interesting to see that ROAS has increased as well. And some of the reasons these videos have done really well also is they're very short, they're straight to the point. You can see also in all of the videos, it talks about lashes, which is what the product does and focuses on. So really utilizing that on-screen text and within their captions as well.
Awesome. Do you want me to move to the bottoms?
Yeah. And
Okay.
then this also comes along.
Sorry. Do you want me to go next slide or play?
Oh, up to you.
Okay.
Can we get the sound to work? Maybe you can show an
Yeah,
example of one.
let's do this one.
Yeah, so for example, that video really just highlights like the strength of the product and shows a clear like before and after and the consumer's journey of like using the product, what they thought of it, also using like a trending sound in the background as well.
Great. Let me
Yeah,
get
and
to
I'll
the
say,
next.
I think another thing compared to maybe branded content you would do on other platforms or even on TikTok, for the shoppable content, it's subtlety is not really like you need to be clear that you are presenting a product that you want someone to buy. That's actually a mistake. We see people that make content that's pretty interesting and follows TikTok trends pretty well, but it's not clear that you want someone to buy something in the video. For TikTok Shop, it's got to be clear. And I think sometimes people feel like, oh, that might be a little gross. And I mean, you do want to do it in an authentic way. That's why I like, working with creators is great who have really tried the product and they show a real before and after or whatever. But, and, we talk for an hour about like authentic content on TikTok, but I think just being really clear with that call to action, really being upfront about the product and the value proposition that you're trying to present in the video. That's what we see consistently with videos that are performing as shoppable content as opposed to just like general memes on the platform.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. And this kind of goes into maybe why some of these weren't as well performing as well, is the call to action wasn't as clear or really truly what the product was. Like you can see in two of these, the on-screen text is really vague, just trying to understand like what we are supposed to do as the audience based off of what they are creating. So the value prop isn't really clearly hitting as well here.
Do you want me to play any of these ones?
Yeah,
I'd say for time, maybe let's not call out
you got it.
the underperformers. we can just move because
Yeah.
we have such great Q&A. Maybe we just accelerate through.
Let me hop past this. Okay.
And I'll try and go just like a minute each because we've tried to distill some of the strategies we've seen some of our early clients having success with, and then a couple watch outs. So one thing is with TikTok Shop, it creates a full walled garden within TikTok from user engagement with the content all the way through to purchase completion. It's a full closed loop cycle. And so when you think about this, kind of overall transition that's happening in digital marketing of, Apple cutting down on cookies and data that's gathered, and just overall there being a tougher regulatory environment for collecting a ton of data. What's going to make you successful? It's the quality of your signal as a first party platform. So the more activity that you're encouraging within your own ecosystem as a platform, the more you're going to be able to present solutions and efficient conversion for brands. And that's what TikTok is creating with TikTok Shop. And that's the benefit that you open yourself up to as a brand. If you're already putting out TikTok content or you're already advertising on TikTok, you're running TikTok media, which a ton of people are, TikTok Shop is going to make your media super important. And just a quick, insight that we found early that kind of blew our minds. Like in terms of that increase in signal. So like dollar for dollar, in terms of the amount of spend that we're making, if we direct the spend off TikTok versus to a TikTok Shop, on TikTok Shop, we're getting 3 times the number of remarketable events occurring per dollar of spend. So our remarketing audience can be 3 times as large per any given level of spend if we're directing that media towards TikTok Shop, because again, it's just it's a more seamless user journey. TikTok's able to pick up the signal much better, understand what you're doing on the app, and create that retargeting audience. So that's like a bonus, even if, like the organic, content conversions are like a little rough or slow going for you, like 3 times increase on your retargeting audiences on TikTok. If you're already spending TikTok media, which a ton of brands are, that's just a huge boost that's available for you for getting involved with TikTok Shop. Second thing, that was probably a little over a minute, but we talked about, I'm going to the next slide. This is a real first mover opportunity. TikTok Shop just launched officially last fall. There was some, early beta stuff in the summer and whatever, but it's less than a year old, point being. And TikTok has, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to give the specific target. I don't want to get in trouble, but TikTok has a specific target that they've communicated to us in terms of the volume of shoppable content that they're trying to bring to the platform. So, they have incentives for their teams. They have incentives for partners around bring the shoppable content because they want to promote it in the feed, and there's not enough shoppable content being created on the platform yet. And so if you get in early, like they're going to promote your content, and you can be competing with, relatively few candidates putting that content out. And it's just like anyone who gets involved early in a platform, like your rank with the algorithm starts to increase. And, that can be a pretty persistent advantage for the people who get in early and are consistent operating on the platform. And that advantage doesn't last forever. When millions of brands are all trying to compete for the same eyeballs, then the moment has passed, right? And that window is right now to get in on that early mover advantage.
Yeah.
And then super quick watch outs. These will sound like common sense, but we just want to be helpful if you're really in the process of this. TikTok is there have been a couple of questions about, will TikTok get banned? I don't know if we'll get to those, because honestly, we have no inside knowledge of that one way or the other. But TikTok is mindful of like being scrutinized, and they're more conservative about the types of product categories that they'll allow on the platform, or the types of content even they'll allow on the platform than other other companies. Even compared to like an Amazon, they're going to be a little bit more restrictive on product categories. Most of the standard categories are fine, but just they have very clear articles on restricted and prohibited products. Make sure you read those. And even, if you're prohibited, you can still sell, but there's guidelines around it. So, you don't want to be dinged for that. Just be careful to read those. The registration process, there's very specific documents. Again, TikTok has really good help center documentation around this, but they also are incredibly officious about it. And if there's like one, dotted I or cross T missing, you'll get dinged in the registration process. A lot of brands express frustration with it. It's a lot of what we help brands with when they set up a shop. And, just calling it out, it's unfortunate, but it's kind of the cost of doing business on TikTok. Don't be discouraged if there's a couple kind of like hiccups in your registration process around documents. A lot of brands experience that. And Trenton already talked about, it is a marketplace. So, you have to have your, someone to vote, or you have to have a partner like Pattern to help you, fulfill your orders, respond to customers, comment on what they're doing. It's a social platform, so interaction is expected. It's not a passive kind of set up the shop and wait for the dollars to flow thing.
Yeah, perfect. That's I'll just really quick. So we're a TikTok Shop certified partner. I just really quick wanted to say how we can help on the current side. So as Dustin mentioned, we help with shop setup. We help brands with content creation, like grabbing the right creators and getting them to produce the content and doing that at scale, and then managing the affiliates. We can also help with getting these affiliates, but then taking them omni-channel if you want to like go to Instagram and all that. And we have a whole platform that helps you with that and manages payments and everything. And then we also can come in and help with the TikTok Shop advertising as well. And I just noticed Kevin Muskuski, who is on our team that does that, is in the chat dropping some knowledge too. So that's great. Okay. So just really quick, if you want to check us out, it's current.tech or pattern.com. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. We recorded this, so I'll share that out with everybody that registered. And if you're a Pattern brand and want to talk to TikTok Shop, you can reach out to your NAM, and they can help you understand like how we navigate that on the Pattern side. It is slightly different than the current side, and they are kind of right now two separate standalone offerings, but we can always work through that and talk to it with you. And then, yeah, let's just jump into Q&A real quick. So we've had some jump up in the chat. Dustin, Katie, I don't know if you guys were kind of watching those.
I was gonna pull one to start because it's kind of a
perfect.
Yeah. It applies to probably everyone here, or a lot of people here. As a small seller, what do you suggest doing to start out without overwhelming myself? If it does happen to take off. What I would say to this, I would say three things. Only one of them blatantly self-serving. The first, set up the open affiliate plan that Trenton talked about. So if it's, the kind of trade-off of open versus targeted, you're probably going to get more relevant creators that will, be long-term more effective for your brand, but you do have to manage it. Open it. You just say like, I'm open for business, 10% commission, and just see who comes in, right? So if you don't have a lot of time, it's a great place to start. And then maybe that can teach you people later you want to reach out to in a targeted way. Second, I know this sounds not so much like, lightweight management, but go live once a week. For a half hour if you're super swamped. But the reason I say that is compared to, on-demand content, you have to think of a concept and shoot and edit. And not that making TikTok content is hard, but like if you go live, you just turn it on and you're live. And like it's going to feel scary, but actually you don't have to prep for it and you'll learn a ton. And actually, and again, the TikTok algorithm really rewards consistency. So just do it once a week and just like, again, initially probably not that many people are even going to be there, but like slowly it'll build. And like, you'll kind of figure out the platform and figure out how to talk about yourself on the platform. And it'll be a really great practice. And the third thing is, if you're overwhelmed, get in touch with Pattern, because, a great partner can, take all those extra tasks off your plate. And that's what we'd love to do.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people have asked like kind of about the target audience. And I think some people have asked, isn't TikTok like notoriously a younger audience? And I'll just touch on that really quick. Like, yeah, for sure. And it definitely started with Gen Z lighting it all on fire and taking it. Anecdotally, I'm on it now, and I wasn't in 2018, 2019. And I think most of my friends are on it now. So anecdotally, it's starting to creep up, and there's even data that shows like millennials are really starting to catch on. And some of the favorite creators that I watch are Gen X, I think is the next one above me. So it's starting to become ubiquitous and broader, but I think I would safely say for now, like it's very skewed to Gen Z and younger, but
Well,
I wouldn't
I would,
discount that.
yeah, I mean, I totally agree with everything you're saying, but I wouldn't be deterred if you're, if your audience is, a little, the majority of any social platform is under 35. Just, I mean, they're all, so, but I will say like TikTok has been making a very, very concerted effort to broaden to increase the diversity of content that's on this platform to appeal to all ages and to really age up its user base. And again, like 150 million, monthly active users, that's about like half of everyone 13 plus in the United States. So, can't all be Gen Z. And I don't have all of the latest statistics, but it's actually closed the gap very significantly. If you look at TikTok versus Instagram, like there's not that much of a disparity in, like how much it skews younger, older. There's there's grandparent accounts that are super popular on TikTok. So, what I would say is like, yes, like you're not going to have quite the audience scale for, like a 35 plus target as you would under, but you're probably competing with a lot fewer people. And they're definitely, I mean, there still are going to be millions in your cohort. Even like 50 plus, there's going to be millions of people on TikTok. It's just the scale is that big now. So I really think like give it a shot.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like the percentages would make it feel like older people are a small population, but when you look at the overall amount of users and you just count the numbers, you're well into the millions of an audience, right? So that's a great point. Like maybe the percentage isn't the right way to look at it, is how many people could you get in front of. Any other questions that stood out to you guys, Dustin or Kaylee? There was quite a few, I think, that dropped in. I don't know if we can get to all of them.
Yeah, there's some in the Q&A on open.
Someone asked, how do creators receive the product? So there's inside the affiliate center, there is like a product seeding motion where you can offer them the product for free and you can ship right out. And if it's integrated with Shopify, like you can do that whole thing. And then,
again, someone asked what would the process look like for a pattern partner. Would encourage you to reach out to your brand manager. Would love to talk to you more about that. And think best discussed separately, but certainly we're very eager to get every pattern partner that's interested set up on TikTok Shop and take care of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It can get very detailed into like which percentage of inventory we're gonna put over to this and test it, and all of those things that I think deserve a conversation that's standalone.
I'll take one.
Yeah.
There's what product categories have done exceptionally well on TikTok Shop in the US, China. Um, Again, don't have the exact stats in front of me. I know that how their teams are divided up. Like, you know, beauty, fashion, CPG, you know, like, which, I mean, they're just significant retail category. I mean, it's going to map pretty closely to the biggest retail categories overall. Where there might be a little divergence or like over concentration on TikTok, again, think back to like, why do you succeed on TikTok? You succeed with content. So the categories that do well are more the consumables, things that can literally be showcased. So like, you know, I like financial services is probably something that, you know, I mean, not that you're buying that on Amazon either necessarily, but like might under index a little bit on TikTok. Like TikTok is amazing at show and tell types of products because that's what you're doing in the feed. That's what makes people super interested, and they comment to the creator, "Hey, what is that? Does it do this or that?" But also think about, you know, if you're, you know, if you don't have a physical product, I mean, a brand that has famously done extremely well on TikTok is Duolingo. And that's not, you know, it's language training, you know, platform and software, right? It's not, and it's not by people like showing their Spanish lessons on the, you know, but like they've made their, you know, kind of weird character like participant in these TikTok trends, and they've sort of like humanized their brand through the character. And so, you know, if you're not a product that does kind of the direct show and tell before and after type of stuff, think about, it kind of goes back to that basic brand storytelling around your product. You know, like how do you humanize it? How do you make it relatable to like situations that I'm in my life? Because that's the content that really pops on TikTok.
Yeah. Awesome. I think an hour, solid hour is it's over the time that I thought we might have. So I think we call it there. Thank you everyone for jumping in. I'll share the recording as I mentioned to everyone that registered. If you have further questions, you can reach out. My email is trenton.romf@current.tech. You can also reach out on pattern.com or current.tech. Great. Well, thank you so much, Dustin and Kaylee. And I'm sure it feels like there was so many questions kind of coming in and that we hit the hour pretty fast that I think it maybe warrants doing another one or having some other deep dives as we move forward and as we see brands winning and the ups and downs we're seeing too. So I'm sure we'll have another one. So stay tuned for that. And we'll see you all later. Thanks so much.
Thanks everyone.
Everybody.